why tyrants hate men with guns, DC liberals want violence, and Trump gets 26 cartel members in a deal with Mexico. This is The Loaded Mic, and I'm Dan Woss. What happens to good people when they allow themselves to be disarmed by a handful of tyrants and a gaggle of weak but power-hungry political activists? Well, they become subjects and are then told what to do. So when other countries took guns away from their citizens, they not only took away their self-defense, but they also took away their self-esteem and pride, because tyrants know that if they can weaken a man, they can dominate him. This may be why the Democrats in America have implemented the toxic male campaign and have celebrated the weak, emasculated beta male in society. They not only normalized something that would have been laughed at just a few decades ago, but marketed it in such a way that it made it appear to be popular. The shaming of masculinity in America has been very clear by the political left, and unfortunately, some of the weaker among us have fallen for it. The truth is, real men do need guns if they want to protect the ones they love from danger and the country they love from tyranny. What is the best way to keep citizens from rising up against tyrannical government? Well, keep them in fear, keep them weak, and keep them unarmed and helpless. Gun laws in America are not about saving lives, as the political left would like you to believe. Gun laws in America are for the purpose of Democrats disarming their political opposition. Weak men are controlled men, and a disarmed citizenry becomes subjects of the state. So our founding fathers knew that there would be people who would try to put America back under the control of a monarchy. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment. For more Second Amendment content, check out my Good Gun, Bad Guy book series at goodgunbadguy.com. And we're going to talk about this and many other things with... He's not controversial. He just says things others disagree with. John Chaira. All right. So John's pretty talkative today. I'm hoping that we can entertain. But so, what do you think, John, about the whole disarming? So here's my thought. It's about disarming men, basically. I mean, I know women have guns too, but for the most part, the disarmament of men who would likely be the ones to rise up against tyranny, and also emasculating men. So we've gone through now how many years of this, I don't know, this beta male sort of thing, normalizing the whole beta male thing.
Soy boys.
The man bun, the skinny jeans, all the little...
My favorites.
Yeah.
I'm going to a few fairs this week, so I'm sure I'm going to see all shapes and sizes. I'm so excited.
Fairs are usually more conservative, right?
You think?
Yeah.
Hillbillies.
Well,
that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I'm all good with that.
I like going to fairs.
But back to that.
I like the corn dogs. Yeah. But anyway, so what are your thoughts on the whole thing? I'm concerned that, well, now I think that we're coming back to a place where men are men and these beta males are getting pushed aside.
Well, I think it seems a lot of the perception on how people should act comes from not really understanding not looking at numbers, not measuring things, not managing things. For instance, like we always talk about, legal gun owners. How often are they committing crimes?
Right.
Almost never, right?
Right.
So why, if it's not legally a problem, see, this is what the left has done, is that they've taken it away from being legal and they make it all moral and philosophical and guilt-driven. And if you don't agree, you're the bad guy and you're a racist and you're this and you're that. But that doesn't ever produce anything. So, again, the whole idea of making men less than they are, I don't understand how anybody thinks that's a good thing. Why would it be good?
That's a good point. But they have normalized it. And I think the only reason that a portion of our society thinks it's a good thing is because they've created this toxic masculinity narrative. See, without the toxic masculinity narrative, you wouldn't be able to grasp onto a concept like that. Like weak men are a good thing. It just doesn't make sense unless you add the toxic masculinity. Now that's a bad thing. So now it's easier to go and gravitate toward. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just discussing with someone today about how understanding that toxic masculinity is understanding the context within which all these other things are happening. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. The problem is that people that are anti-gun in any way, shape, or form usually don't know anything about guns or the history of gun legislation or the outcomes of gun legislation, which is what we should be looking at, right? All these intentions of saving people and making things better for everybody, if they don't produce results, I mean, it's ignoring that basic concept that has us keep re-electing the same people to Congress over and over and over and over again when they don't do anything. Nothing changes. It's so weird.
Isn't it amazing how people will still vote for the same politicians and nothing ever changes? And they promise that they're going to make changes and you're going to be better off financially or you're going to be safer in your community and all this stuff that they promise. Decade after decade, and people still vote for them. It's just amazing. And then they see that they didn't follow through on their promises, and then they come up for re-election and they vote for them again. It's just...
Well, it's the way they speak. Like I mentioned earlier, Adam Carolla had Gavin Newsom on his podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
And listening to Newsom talk about things, Adam was just putting out a list of complaints, things that go wrong on the highway, building inspections, all kinds of regulations and stuff, this, that. And every time he said that, Newsom would say, yeah, we have to humanize the government. We have to make it more relatable to regular people's lives. And so Adams complains some more, and Newsom says, well, you should run for office. And he's like, you're the governor. Like, what are you talking about? It's so insane, right? It's just insane. But again, the way they talk about it reinforces what they want people to believe, that their intentions are good, and that's what matters. Because if you don't have the right intentions, you're a bad person.
I think a big part of the problem is that every 10 years or so, you've got a whole new set of voters coming in. You've always got new voters coming in. And if you can fool those people enough,
absolutely,
you can get them on board.
They're already on the screens growing up.
Yeah.
All you got to do is put the right stuff on the screen. That's what they're going to think.
It's
Why
amazing.
would they think anything else?
Yeah, it's amazing. But as far as disarming and emasculating men in America, they're definitely trying it. If you look at other countries, you can see it. You can see it happening. And I think in America, because we've got Trump, the whole narrative is starting to change. In other words, that stuff is not okay anymore. Right. People just aren't buying it. All the tranny stuff, you're going to start seeing all the tranny stuff go away, or either not be so normal anymore.
Level off in an area at a level that makes sense, right?
Yeah. And people will start to recognize that a lot of the violence is coming from that community, from that. We'll see a lot of the killings, the shootings and stuff are, trans people. And I think we're going to start to recognize that although not all those people are bad people, I don't want to make the wrong impression, but there is something going on there psychologically that's not quite right.
Right.
Would you agree?
Just objectively, not judgingly, just like, there's something not normal there.
Right. But now it's almost like now because of Trump, we can talk about it. we're not worried about getting canceled on YouTube or we're canceled on Facebook.
Canceled on YouTube.
We've been canceled. This show's been canceled a couple times, and that's okay. I guess it's their platform. We're not. It's a free. It's a free platform for us to use. Who am I to make any demands on YouTube?
You can't make a demand. Right? No.
So, okay, if that's the way they play, then that's fine.
It's like trying to fight with ASCAP. You can't fight with them. You just can't. Right.
Just like our studio, we will choose what shows we want to produce, and nobody else is going to have anything to say about it. So I understand that, but I'm glad to see that the banning and the demonetization and all that stuff might start to be settling down a little bit because Trump is changing the narrative. It's just an amazing thing.
That's a trickle-down thing that works, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
An incentive to somebody to do something differently. That's good.
I guess if trickle-down works, it's going to work. It's going to work there. Let me get to one of our sponsors real quick. You want to know who's fighting for your gun rights? Gun Owners of America. Now, GOA is the No Compromise gun rights group, so I urge you to become a member at gunowners.org. What have they done? Well, GOA secured a preliminary injunction against the ATF pistol brace rule. GOA members submitted a record 85,000 plus comments opposing the ATF's universal registration check rule, and they helped enact permitless carry in Nebraska and Florida. GOA secured victories in California, Illinois, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Plus, they won 2 legal victories against the ATF's zero-tolerance policy. And GOA fought to overturn Joe Biden's ban on funding hunter education, shooting, sports, and archery in schools. So, with the constant attacks on our Second Amendment, we often ask ourselves, well, what can I do about it? This is what you can do. You can become a member at gunowners.org and help us save the Second Amendment. All right, I want to get to a couple stories here. We got a ton of stuff to talk about today. Democrats are angry because President Trump is making Washington, D.C. safer. I'm telling you can't make this stuff up. It's hysterical. Here's an article from our friends over at the New York Post. D.C. protesters clash with cops over local checkpoint after Trump's federal takeover, saying, "Get off our streets." So enraged protesters squared off against D.C. cops and tried to warn drivers to avoid police checkpoints as President Trump's crime crackdown on the nation's capital continues. Why are you here, they're saying? You're trying to arrest innocent people. What's your purpose? What's your goal? What's your motive? One of the protesters lining the 14th Street Northwest corridor yelled at officers. I said, "Why don't you show your face? Do you look yourself in the mirror?" So they're insulting these officers and stuff. And the interesting thing here is, but it turns out that the roadblock had nothing to do with the stepped-up enforcement effort. It was part of a weekly safety compliance checkpoint that been going on since 2023. So they're so overstimulated on this stuff and overreactive. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. During the checkpoint, 344 vehicles passed through. 28 were stopped. 38 notice of infractions were issued. A handful of Homeland Security agents were also spotted at the checkpoint. The Washington Post reported, which wound down around 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay, so this is part of this story. I think, though, and they're flipping out. These people are flipping out in D.C. because Trump is trying to fix things. And he has legal authority to do it over
legal.
Washington,
That's
D.C.
the thing. It's legal. Shut up, change the law, whatever.
Let's play this clip, and then we can talk a little bit more about this. We don't want safety. Go away. We want to be unsafe.
What's this, something that was been happening regularly? It's not like it's a surprise. Like, what's the matter with these people?
I've never been embarrassed to do my job.
They're the ones that want to hate, right? They all want to hate everything. All they need is a cause.
That's good. We get the idea.
This
But
is dumb.
on what planet do you tell cops to go away when they're trying to keep you safe? In this case, they were doing something else. But
Right.
the idea is that they didn't want the cops being there,
I don't know.
to make the city safer. On what planet does this make any sense?
Well, because they all believe that the cops are there because they want to arrest innocent people. Now, why would anybody ever go out of their way to arrest an innocent person? What's the point of that? A bunch of paperwork? Good
I
Lord.
need more paperwork. Well, let's just grab this guy here. Who's,
Just ignore human nature. That's the theme of the day, it seems.
so there's been all this controversy. The mayor, Bowser.
Bowser?
Bowser, that's her name.
Sha Na Na?
Mayor Bowser from Sha Na Na. But now you're really showing your age, John. Talking about Sha Na Na.
I just put up a Bee Gees clip yesterday, too.
Oh, there you go. I'm sure a lot of people watching the show will know who Bowser from Sha Na Na is. But D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser held a press conference. But talk about bad timing. This is an article from our friends over at National Review. Days after President Trump announced his federal takeover of the nation's capital, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has left town for Martha's Vineyard. So you, even if the trip is for a family commitment, as her team alleges, it's tough to imagine that this news will play well with D.C.'s ultra-democratic constituency. Mayor has family commitment and had to pick up her daughter, whatever. They made some sort of excuse. Basically saying that she's in a tough spot here because they got all this controversy. She made some press conferences that kind of accepted President Trump coming in
In the beginning, right?
and then she kind of switched a little bit, and
Well,
she
it took
kind
her
of
about 24 to 36 hours
Right.
before she flip-flopped on that.
right, and then so she's trying to play both sides of this thing. But then to just leave to go to Martha's Vineyard, hang out with Obama. I mean, what's she doing?
Who's her assistant? They're on the hot seat.
It just seems like it's just irresponsible. It's like, if you're going to be mayor, you really should probably be there during these times. That's what everyone's saying.
I would hope.
Especially if if they need to talk to her about police, because she's going to be in charge of what the DC police do, and obviously DC police are trying to work with, the federal police. So you'd think that she'd want to be there, but
You'd think.
apparently not. Anyway, the Cali Key. This device, the Cali Key, removes your AR from the definition of so-called assault weapon. Did you know that when so-called assault weapon ban lists are created, they exclude manually operated bolt-action firearms? Just by dropping the Cali Key into your direct impingement AR in place of your semi-automatic BCG, you'll have a bolt-action rifle that falls outside the definition of assault weapon. So you don't need to do anything else. So give the Cali Key a look, because with it, you could retain all your rifle's features, avoid registration complications, revive your black rifle sales if you're an FFL, regain the ability to do private party transfers, legally transport across hostile jurisdictions, hunt with your AR in areas like Pennsylvania, enhance long-range precision and quiet or suppressed shooting. Cali Key has state-specific expert attorney opinions on its website and supports grassroots Second Amendment organizations with its sales. Cali Key's mission is to empower customers and claw back our civil liberties. So go to CaliKey.com and use the discount code LOADED. CaliKey.com, discount code LOADED. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over at News 2A. As you can see, I'm wearing their shirt. Sean and Grant, these guys who run this publication are fantastic, and I write for them sometimes. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. I was just hanging out with them in Knoxville at the big Gun Owners of America convention. So hats off to these guys. Check out news2a.com. And and so I don't know, do we have to go to break yet? Let me just check here real quick. Okay, we got a couple minutes. So I wanted to keep on the DC situation. I wanted to get your thoughts on the sandwich slinger. Are you familiar with the sandwich slinger?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, let me
Tell the
school
story.
you. Let me school you up on this. So, because they're so angry, right? This one guy, he's got a sub sandwich in his hand, and he's yelling at the cops, and because he's so angry because they're trying to protect him, and he throws the sandwich at him. Most people have seen this video by now, but why don't we just show you the video real quick just to catch you up.
Go fucking way! You
Motherfucker!
Here it goes. Oh! And they chase him in his little shorts and his pink shirt. And he's running.
Hey, good
What a
He cooked him!
freaking weirdo. What a weirdo.
Has he called you yet, Dan? Ask for help.
He wanted to be on the show.
Exactly.
Has to be on the show. But there's a story behind this guy. And first of all, DC man been charged with a felony. So he's been charged for assault after hitting the federal agent with a Subway sandwich. So not that that's really a big deal, I don't think, but it's kind of interesting that Judge Janine said, we're not going to tolerate this stuff, and finally people are being held accountable.
Just don't act stupid. Like, why would you do that?
So dumb. So dumb. So dumb. He's saying, F you, effing fascists.
That's what they're doing, fascists.
Why are you here? I don't want you in my city, he screamed before the alleged assault. And the other interesting thing is that he works for the Department of Justice.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So, the man who threw a Subway sandwich at a federal officer in Washington, D.C. on Sunday now faces felony charges for the assault. Gene Pirro, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, said on Wednesday. You saw the video showing the man doing that. Court documents filed Wednesday, police allege that Sean Charles Dunn approached law enforcement officers, including Metro Transit Police and U.S. Customs and Border Protections officer, and began yelling obscenities and calling them fascists. Following his arrest, officer threw a sandwich at him. He was charged with assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers and employees of the United States. Following his arrest, Dunn allegedly told one of the arresting officers, I did it. I threw the sandwich. And then we find out that he was he worked
State employee.
He
or
worked
a federal employee, whatever.
Yeah, he worked for the DOJ. It's just so funny because these people are exposing themselves, and now Trump can get them out of,
Right.
Obviously he's fired now. Judge Janine,
He's fired.
they got rid of him. They fired him. Jeez. He also now he's facing a felony charge, and he got fired because his politics overtakes him emotionally.
Right. Control yourself. Why would you
can't.
throw something at a cop? Under any circumstances, why would you throw something at a cop?
They think that they are entitled to do that.
Well, that's too bad,
They must believe
They
that.
must.
Why would you? Because you and I wouldn't even consider something
Well, that's
like that.
the whole underlying theme behind a lot of the stuff that the left does. If you just step back one step and go, they must think this because that would explain the action. Like they must think Trump is Hitler, therefore anything goes.
Yeah, that's why they try to kill him.
All you got to do is keep that going. Put it on their screens over and over and over again, and they watch the same TV
Over and
listen
over.
to the same people over and over.
Yep.
I ask people all the time. I said, "Do you look at anything else besides what you see on your choice?" He goes, "Well, you listen to Fox News," and I'm like, "No, I'm looking at all different kinds of people talking about all different kinds of things because I want to have information. It's not because I'm trying to justify my own conclusions about something. Like, just give me information.
Yeah.
If this is happening, why would I not want to know about that?"
Yeah.
But that is lost on so many. Like, I'm what? What am I? Curious? Guilty.
Yeah, I watch Fox News. I watch Newsmax, OAN. I have friends in some of these networks.
And you don't have to go after the left-wing news because whenever you turn the TV on, it's right there in your face,
right there,
no matter what.
But I do like to even check in. And I was just thinking about this, earlier. I was actually asked, I was doing a speaking event, and I was asked where do I get my information for Second Amendment stuff? And, I kind of jokingly, but seriously, said that I will look at Yahoo News, which is the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most left-wing. I mean, everything's out there. They put it right out there. They don't pull any punches. So the reason you want to read the left-wing stuff, at least for me, is because I love to see their angle. I love to understand their twist and their propaganda and how they twist it and how they, their narrative.
Well, that gives you a tool in a conversation with one of those people because at least you can hopefully get on some kind of a same playing field and stuff, something they'll understand.
And you know that they are always going to be putting out news that they think will affect conservatives or MAGA folks or Trump himself. So I always like to see that. And then I'll take those articles when they're saying something that sounds kind of crazy, and I'll take it and I'll go search other publications.
Look for actual information.
And then you'll get the contrast and you see where they're making stuff up and where they're twisting it. So, but it's interesting to look at the left-wing news and do it with the mind that they're going to try to spin it. You want to now find the truth about it, but it's a good indicator of where they're going.
I think, I know I do, a lot of times, if I hear something from a right-wing source and it sounds crazy, I'll check that as well, because there's a lot of, there's so much controversial stuff. Well, I often use the COVID vaccine as an example of, you didn't know this, we didn't know this, it was not tested, we don't know any information, but we all have these opinions about what's right and what's wrong. Even a couple years down the road now, where we still don't have any real long-term information about stuff like that, but we're willing to believe, you say, put it on their screens enough times,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going to think that that's what is, so.
Well, that's just it. You put it on the screen enough times, and I'm going to talk about that right when we come back from the break. But that's a good, that's definitely a good thing where we should go. We should go next, I think, with, let's talk about that brainwashing a little bit. Let's get into that. And right after the break, I think this is going to be interesting. So short break. We'll be right back.
The Cali Key removes your AR from the definition of an assault weapon. It lets you keep your rifle with all its features, avoid registration hassles, and transport in hostile jurisdictions. The Cali Key also lets you hunt in jurisdictions like Pennsylvania and enhances long-range precision shooting. Cali Key's expert legal opinions empower informed decisions, and sales help grassroots Second Amendment organizations. Cali Key is your tool to keep and equip your AR, empower yourself, and defend your civil rights.
Our founding fathers saw them coming over 200 years away. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment. Join us in the fight to preserve your gun rights and stop unconstitutional gun control. Gun Owners of America is the country's only no-compromise gun rights organization. Not only do we inform and educate, but we bring the fight to court and win. Your God-given right to keep and bear arms is our top priority. Become a member today and help us take back America. Join us at gunowners.org.
The brainwashing among the political left has run rampant since 2015. It's used on them for all the left-wing policies, from abortion to global warming to borders and all the twisted gender issues. An example of this that the libs will never admit to is the indoctrination process they went through with regard to President Trump. So before he became president the first time, the political left was convinced through their media outlets that he had no chance of winning the election. They laid the propaganda on so thick that all the liberals believed he couldn't win. Normal Americans thought he was perfect for the job, and he ultimately won the first election. Now, remember how upset the crazies were? You don't get that upset unless reality goes completely against your beliefs. It was that moment that they should have realized their beliefs had been completely manipulated, but they didn't. The Democrat media machine continued all the way through the 24 election. They did it to them again, and they still don't understand that they've been brainwashed by the very people they trusted. It's a very interesting social experiment that we have the opportunity to witness firsthand. Liberals can't get out of this because they'll never admit that they're being used by their own political party. Now remember, they're also told that they're intellectually superior to everyone else. How could someone so smart ever allow themselves to be manipulated like that? That psychological component is the most important piece to all of this. That's what prevents them from being able to admit that they've been fooled. So they're going to continue to go crazy. So I guess grab the popcorn and enjoy the ride, because nothing will change until they get psychological help. John, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
I need more.
Oh.
We need more from you on that. On the whole.
Well, that's their MO, right? I mean, it's And I think, again, looking at basic human psychology, we want to believe that what we believe is true and that we're right. That's the most basic human need, basically. Yeah, I'm right about this. And then that leads to you're wrong, of course.
Yeah.
So then the
Well, if I'm right, you got to be wrong.
exactly.
Right.
The system is all set up. It's about, it's a binary thing, and it's too bad because what happens is that's the stuff that plays well on the news. That's the stuff that gets ratings because it's easy for people to understand because it's only one layer thick. There's no real examination of any context going on. It's just like, this is good, this gets clicks, this is good, pow, pow, pow. So what most people see is like people throwing treats in their mouth.
Yeah.
They're not feeding them. They're just keeping them addicted to that feeling of thinking that they're right and thinking that what they think is how I have friends right now arguing with on social media about, well, if everybody did stuff the way I did it, then everything would be fine. I said, you're sitting in your house drinking a beer, looking out of your window. What are you doing? You're not doing anything.
Well, I think last week we did a story on how the left is starting to turn off the news. Because I think what's happening now is that since the narrative is changing, getting back to more reality, is that they are so caught up in this narrative that they've been cultivating, is that now that if something changes, and let's say CNN comes out and says, hey, look, Trump.
They have been.
They have been, exactly. So they come out and they say, Trump kind of doing a good job here with the economy and stuff like that. Their heads are exploding because they've been conditioned to believe one thing. He's, with respect to the economy, he's bad. He's going to create a recession, a depression, all this stuff. The stock market's going to crash. And frankly, the exact opposite is happening. So they have to square this now. And they don't know how.
Yeah. Well, it's
because you'd have to admit that you're wrong, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's become a religion. I mean, it follows all the same patterns. I mean, these people are willing to believe without verification, which is, if that's their choice in their personal life and how they want to lead their life as far as their faith and their family and their morals and whatever else, that's personal liberty, right? Do what you want. I don't care about that. But when you have the people that, if you check on it, most of them don't know anything about what it is they're criticizing. Like we go back to the gun laws. These people don't know about what's out there, what effects they've had.
Tariffs, too.
Well, you're an expert. What do you think is going to happen in 3.5 years? I'm like, gee, I don't know. How about we check back in 3.5 years? Yeah. I don't know all this stuff. I can't take what I think is somebody's intentions and then turn that into an equation and turn that into a policy and predict what the outcome is going to be 3-4 years from now.
Right.
But you guys are all doing that. Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to do that. It's going to end the world. He's going to start a war, blah, blah. He's a fascist, blah. The Rose Garden, oh, my God.
It's unbelievable. It must be very uncomfortable because so let me back up. I'm going to play devil's advocate, put ourselves in that kind of position. When President Trump won the first election, we were pretty convinced that he was the guy to do he was going to do a good job, and he was going to, his policies were good. I pretty much believed in everything he said. Some of the Second Amendment.
Not really a real conservative,
right?
But I mean,
some of the gun stuff he was a little shaky on,
but he's got to get things done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows where to walk on that road and not fall off the edge.
But so we criticized him to a certain extent with the Second Amendment related things, and then what happened? Biden gets in, which is another whole story. How as far as I'm concerned, they stole that election. That man did not win the most votes in presidential history. I can't believe that he did. I don't know if you disagree with me or not. It doesn't matter. That's the way.
Seems improbable.
Exactly. So we were fed the pill of, I guess, the reality pill. Like, which one is the blue pill or the red pill? Because what happened was we were under the assumption that Trump was doing this and Trump was good and Trump was all this stuff, and then all of a sudden now we are hit with the reality that Biden is our president. Did we freak out? Did we lose our minds? like they do on the political left? I don't think we did. I think we said, okay, well, whether they stole it or not, this is the situation we're in.
Right.
Let's retool, let's re-gear, and make the most of this and see.
That's how it works when you're living your life bottom up, as opposed to what they think is top down is the way. Nobody lives their life like that. Right. Said to somebody today.
These people are screaming and crying.
Oh my God! I said, you are worried about all these things to the point where you're willing to insult people and accuse them of morally bad behavior, thoughts, lack of empathy, whatever you want to, however you want to put it. And that's your worldview? That's how it's supposed to work? Like, who the heck are you? That's what I want to ask people. What do you think you are? You have an opinion? Okay. Somebody just texted me now. Are you going to be able to talk this guy down? I'm like, I didn't read what he said yet.
Talk this guy down.
On a social media post, I responded to something, and a third party texted me and said, can you help him? Can you talk him down? Because I don't know what's going on. Because he's flipping out. And I'm like, but like you say, it's like, it leads to this emotional outburst that I don't know when we ever thought that was something positive. I don't know. Soy boys.
It's not, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they've been taught to believe these things are true about Trump or about their policies. Like I said, the border policies, the tranny policies, all this stuff.
Climate policies.
They're taught to believe that this is true. And then they're also simultaneously being taught that they're the smartest person in the room.
Right.
They are intelligent because they're getting this information, which is supposed to be exclusive information, and they're going to the best colleges and stuff. So now they've got two components. They believe they're smarter than you,
yep,
and they believe that they have all the accurate information.
Right. They believe they're really great because somebody's telling them they're really great. What did I see when I pay? Where is it? Someplace I check out. Some local store, warehouse store. When you put your card in and you okay the sale, it says, "You're amazing."
Okay. That's what I need to hear.
And I always think about it, and I always comment to the cashier. I'm like, "Hey, I'm amazing."
I'm amazing.
Like, what the heck? Pretty funny, but
well, that's the thing. You keep feeding somebody this false information. This you're smart. You're more intelligent. These MAGA people, they don't know what they're talking about. You keep feeding somebody this. You went to the best college. You're the greatest.
Well, it's really it's fake self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because if you had real self-esteem, you wouldn't be. I don't care what somebody.
It's inflated self-esteem. It's fake self-esteem,
and it's manufactured.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it follows the equation that the people on the left, and presumably to some degree people on the right, I'm sure too, when it comes to presenting it to people, when it comes to news broadcasts or podcasts, people know how to present stuff more persuasively, sometimes more than others.
Sure.
And those are the ones that are successful. So you keep doing what makes you successful. I get that. But you have to have some kind of a filter to say, whoa, wait a minute here. You know,
well, somebody needs to tell them, shut up, dumbass. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Or at least challenge them and say, tell me what it is you're talking about. And then you get a personal insult. So
Oh, you're a fascist. I can't talk to you.
I have an expert guy now online that's stating he's an expert. And I think he posted something in his field of expertise. And I said, okay, well, just give me the information. Let's go. Because he also commented about something about gun control. And it was all anecdotal. Well, in this case over here, a kid took his father's gun and shot somebody. So therefore, we should make our policy so this over here can never happen. Like, okay, what's the plan? Right. How do you make that one thing out of a million not happen? Show me. We'll apply it to traffic, drowning, shark attacks, bears, everything.
Exactly. Yeah, we won't pay any attention to the person. We'll only pay attention to the guns.
It's dehumanizing. It's so disrespectful.
You know what?
At a basic
I'm glad you brought that up. This next story here from Town Hall. Blue City Mayor just gave a ridiculous suggestion on how Trump can reduce crime. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, this little dweeb, what do you see this guy, made a predictable recommendation to President Donald Trump to reduce crime in major cities. During an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper, Scott suggests that banning AR-15s would magically decrease violence in Washington, D.C. and other high-crime areas across America. Here's a quote. As you know, Violent crime in Baltimore is down. It's come down. Baltimore is still number 3 on the list of U.S. cities and the highest violent crime in rates in 2024. That's according to the FBI's crime database, which relies on reporting from local jurisdictions such as Baltimore. Tapper began. So specifically, what is working in Baltimore, as you were just discussing, and what federal help could help you bring the violent crime numbers down even further? The mayor responded, explaining that the city has a comprehensive violence prevention plan where it does all of the above. We have a deep partnership with my office, the police department, our state's attorney, our attorney general, our governor, our other federal officers, enforcement partners, where we have our group violence reduction strategy or focused deterrence, where we actually go to the very small group of people who are most likely to be a victim or perpetrator of gun violence and say, change your life. They actually get a letter directly from me as the mayor that says, change your life. We'll help you do that. But if you don't, we will remove you. Anyway, we got a video from this guy, and this is his solution. And again, you'll see it has nothing to do with fixing the societal issues, humanitarian issues, characteristic issues, cultural issues, whatever the human nature part of it is. No intention of that. Let's go after the guns. Watch this.
After you see this, I'll tell you my solution to that problem.
All right, go ahead.
We, under my direction, my police department has taken 2,500 guns off the street each of the last 2 years. The president could also do some very simple things for us, Jake, not just for Baltimore, but for the whole country. The president can say no one will no longer be able to go into a store and buy an AR-15. The president could join mayors around the country and stand up to Glock to end these Glock switches that allow our residents and our police officers to be shot with a gun that is now automatic.
Does he have
face?
the thing is, he has no regard for the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Just going to ban them. Just going to ban these guns with no regard.
Because you know that
Second
everybody in his city who's going out and murdering people went to Walmart and bought that gun.
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly. They can just walk into a store and buy one. Yeah. First of all, they've made it so impossible for people to get guns now. It's, all sorts of background checks and all sorts of stuff, which is unconstitutional to begin with. But it still doesn't do anything to stop violence because the criminals are avoiding those processes.
Right.
These people, this little clown, what's his name again? Let me say his name again, just so everybody knows. Mayor Brandon Scott.
He doesn't want you to be able to buy a AR-15.
Yeah. He wants to ban them nationwide. So does Hochul, for that matter. She wants to do the same thing.
Somebody was supporting her online yesterday, and I'm like, do you live here? Like, what?
It just makes me so infuriated because these are common rifles that everybody owns.
Right.
And
Have always owned.
And they're demonizing the hell out of them, and they're trying to ban something that goes completely against the Second Amendment. Second Amendment obviously says that people have the right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
They don't say, it doesn't say the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. As long as it's not a black scary gun, They don't. It doesn't say that. We should have the same firepower that our government has. That's the way it was at the time of our founding. That's the way our founders intended it.
Well, the only reason this country is here is because everybody had a gun.
Yeah.
People think, well, we should be like Australia. I said, Australia was a penal colony. What are you talking about? Of course they didn't have guns to start out with. They didn't send the prisoners over here and here's your gun.
And that's the funny thing because these libs, these anti-gunners will always say, well, look at this country, look at that country. They don't have this gun violence problem. Well, they don't have, also, they aren't a free nation. They don't have
a military.
Right. And they don't have, the people don't have the same authority that we the people have.
If you're fine with that,
just
go there.
That's
there.
all.
A couple friends I have now, just go there.
The way we do things here is different. We have from the time of our founding. The way we do it here is we told the king that he could kiss our ass. And we decided that we will have firearms, and we're going to write it down in the Bill of Rights, and we're going to ratify that thing in 1791 when they were getting started. And we are never going to let the king or any other monarchy or dictator have that power over us.
Second Amendment, right after the First Amendment.
Yeah, this is the way we do it here. If you don't like it, get the hell out. Go live in wherever.
Taking that statement and looking at it again with the intentions versus outcomes. If you don't like it here, where 400 million guns never shoot anybody,
Right.
but they exist in the hands of responsible legal citizens, if that's your beef, you got it tough.
Yeah, you do. I mean,
You need a hobby. if
yeah,
that's
you
your
need a
beef.
freaking hobby.
Well, like a lot of things, though, we can apply that same logic to a whole bunch of topics on the left, right, that we see every day. Like, if that's what you're all excited about, I don't know what to tell you. You got a first world problem here, you know?
Yeah.
Things are better here than they've ever been in every way, and they're hopefully getting better, except that you want to make everybody hate each other so that we can stall the whole process and turn it into what? What's the plan? Again, where are you going with that? I don't see any outcome. Paul Vanderklay had a great podcast yesterday about how just analyzing things from outcome-based and saying all these Marxist things never worked anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Ever. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's try that. Well, it works in other countries. Yeah,
We're only here one lifetime. Let's take it and screw it all up by
They
doing
are so-
something really stupid.
the liberals are so willing to give up this wonderful experiment in self-governance that we have established 250 years ago and that we are living right now. It's the greatest form of government that could ever be imagined and put into effect.
And
we
people
have
are drastically safer than they've ever been throughout history, and they're afraid.
And we have freedom,
brainwashing.
but we have freedom. I mean, our freedom is we let Democrats limit our freedom, and government does limit our freedom to a certain extent. But for the most part, we have freedom. We can do pretty much whatever the hell we want. And when our government gets out of line, we can vote them the hell out. That's you can't ask for anything better than that.
It's the best system we have. It's not perfect, but it's the best that we have.
But they want communism,
And
or
they're selling big time, dude.
it's
New
unbelievable.
York City they're talking about importing people to help Sliwa and these other and Adams and everybody else try to get elected and not get what's his name in there.
Yeah.
What if they elect him?
I think it's going to be an experiment. I think New York City will be a huge experiment, and we will watch it kind of go down the tubes.
It would have been experiment one to see if you can get elected, to
Yeah.
see how persuasive the argument is, right? So we know. Two, if he does get elected, we'll have 4 years or whatever it is, however long he's in, to see what he does, and it'll be a good experiment.
And I know this sounds horrible. I said it on the show before, but I almost want to see those New York City liberals who vote for him. I want to see them suffer in what they create by having a socialist.
Well, they'll talk themselves out of suffering, though, because all the things that they care about affect all the other people that they're being so empathetic of. So when it goes wrong, they can stay on their side of the fence and say, oh, we're just not doing it right. We're not doing it enough.
Yeah.
We need to do more.
Well, you're
It's
going to
like-
watch the city. You're going to watch the buildings go vacant.
Right.
You're going to watch businesses move out. You're going to watch more people homeless in the streets. It's almost, if it wasn't so tragic, it would almost be laughable, where you'd almost want to go there just to see and say, hey, see, we told you so. What the look at this. We told you
If it
so.
was a terrarium, it'd be great. But it's a city of 8 million people, so it might have some consequences beyond what we might think.
The problem is the rest of New York State is going to end up funding it
Absolutely.
to keep it alive. I know that's where we're going to be affected by it, and the country will be affected by it too, because it'll be a stain on our country, on our nation. We'll pick this up in a second. Let me get to one of our sponsors real quick. LifeWave. LifeWave is a non-transdermal patch that allows your body to produce its own natural pharmacy through light energy. The X39 patch tells your body to emit heat in the form of light, which reflects back into your body, elevating a certain copper peptide. Now, this peptide activates your stem cells, which are the only type that can move throughout your body to heal inflammation. LifeWave offers an affordable membership and has a history of wellness that spans over 20 years. It's been around since 2004 to help organizations like SEAL Team 6 and the Olympic swim team stay awake and alert. Today, these non-addictive patches are used by thousands of athletes and military professionals. LifeWave is available in over 80 countries, giving millions the opportunity of maximum wellness. So for more information, testimonials, patents, and studies, go to naturalpatchlife.com. Okay. So what else on that, John?
I don't know.
What else on New York City? It's just, to me, it's just amazing that these people can't see reality. I don't know.
We'll find out what happens, I guess.
We'll find out. Yeah, like I said, you said it was a great point. If it was in a terrarium, it would be great to
Watch
to
it happen. Yeah, but it's going to be
great.
terrible.
It would be.
Well, it'll be terrible. I just read yesterday that some other government-supported food network shut down.
Yeah.
Because they can't do it.
Yeah. Capitalism is the greatest thing ever ever for mankind. It's capitalism. If it wasn't touched, if it wasn't, screwed around with, if it was left alone, it would work phenomenally. But what happens is government comes in and creates these artificial minimum wages. They put taxes on certain things,
Incentives on other
incentives. They squash certain businesses. They manipulate capitalism, which should be a natural form of exchange.
Well, if they're going to tax you anyway, you would think they'd want more rather than making it a big pain in the butt to try to do anything.
Yeah, and it's like I just can't understand how people can still believe to this day, after watching all these other countries, that if they take over the exchange of products and services, if government takes over or gets involved any more than they already are, that it's going to somehow be better.
Right.
It's a joke.
Well, again, all you have to look at the outcomes. What does government do that it does well? I like my DMV in my hometown is fine, as a matter of fact. It's great. But other than that, the post office, here's the notice. Your package, it was undeliverable. We couldn't get to the door. And I said, tomorrow it'll be here. First thing, because they just didn't get to it, which is fine. But it's all part of the whole system of keeping you going and keeping you going. It's like, jeez.
Yep, unbelievable. Government really does not do much well, as far as I'm concerned. But let me get to this last story here before we go. This is pretty interesting. Mexico, this is from National Review. Mexico transferred 26 top cartel suspects to the U.S. in a Trump administration deal. I'll give you a few details on this.
Made the deal.
This is the thing. He's always making deals. Now, we think, well, why would we want these cartel members? Well, this is why. Mexico extradited 26 alleged cartel members to the United States on Tuesday in a deal with the Trump administration. The 26 high-ranking cartel suspects are all wanted by the U.S. and have been accused of various crimes such as kidnapping U.S. citizen, trafficking drugs and guns into the country, human smuggling, and more. One, Roberto Salazar, is wanted in connection with the 2008 murder of Los Angeles Sheriff Deputy Juan Escalante. The alleged cartel members will appear in various federal courts in the coming days. The Department of Justice will not seek the death penalty against any of the defendants, and that's interesting. We'll talk about that. Today, this is a quote, "Today is the latest example of the Trump administration's historic efforts to dismantle cartels and foreign terrorist organizations," Attorney General Pam Bondi said. "These 26 men have all played a role in bringing violence and drugs to American shores. Under this Department of Justice, they will face severe consequences for their crimes against this country. We are grateful to Mexico's national security team for their collaboration in this matter." So they were collaborating. One thing that I noticed in this, they will not seek the death penalty against any of the defendants. I think that's a good thing. Do you know what? Why do you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, it would just be controversial and it would be crazy and there'd be lawsuits and it's just, it'd be a big waste of time. Just put them in jail forever. Who cares?
Right. So, and that kind of leads to my reasoning is that I think if they went for the death penalty on any of these, there would be appeals and they'd be back on the streets.
Well, my question is that were these people all in custody in Mexico already, or did they go out and get them? And how did that work?
I don't know, but they must be in custody. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to turn them over.
I'm wondering how they got these people. Did they go to the cartels and say, okay, we need a volunteer to go, the United States? That was the deal.
Well, maybe there's some more in this article. The transfer is yet another example of what's possible when two governments stand united against violence and impunity. U.S. Ambassador to Mexico Ronald Johnson said in a statement, these fugitives will now face justice in U.S. courts, and the citizens of both of our nations will be safer from these common enemies. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum rejected reports that the Trump administration would send U.S. agents into Mexico to target cartel leaders, but appears willing to work with the administration to curb drug trafficking across the southern border. The United States is not going to come to Mexico with the military, she said on Friday. We cooperate, we collaborate, but there's not going to be an invasion. So she doesn't sound like she's too thrilled, but she said that's ruled out, absolutely ruled out. Okay, whatever.
Good. That's good.
Whatever. As long as Trump gets them, because if they're in Mexico, they're just going to get set free again. They're going to end up finding their way over our border again, and they're going to end up. So if Trump can get them, and if our Department of Justice can get these guys, then they can be put away.
It's something, right? I mean, you're supposed to doing nothing, which is what the past has been, right? Biden didn't do it. It was just, it's completely opposite, which is, I think it's a good thing. And I don't know how anybody can argue that either. Oh, Trump's doing this. Yeah, right. Isn't that what we all wanted for 4 years?
How can anybody on the political left justify what Biden did for 4 years?
He did not.
With that open border. How do you justify that?
Under any circumstances, no matter who you are or what your feelings are, or, I mean, not that you personally need to have immigrants, but again, that argument. But it's got to be regulated. It can't be free form. You can't leave it up to the immigrants to decide who should come here. You know what I mean? That's just dumb. Why would you do that? Some guy was arguing something about this today, and he was overlooking the whole premise that they're illegal immigrants. Well, in Texas, the illegal immigrants don't commit crimes at the same rate as regular criminals do. I go, okay, because first of all, they might be criminals. Second of all, they're already here legally. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. Why would they be out committing crimes if you're giving them free stuff? So is that like saying that the homeless people living in your backyard are okay because they break into your house less than the neighborhood burglar breaks into your house? That's how we're judging things?
I would love for some kind of policy that said, if you support this type of thing, we're going to put you on a list and require you to take in at least one illegal migrant.
Foster parents.
And you have to fund them. You have to pay all their finances. You have to provide their transportation, and you have to be responsible and take the hit if they commit crime. You have to be legally responsible for them. Imagine there wouldn't be one liberal. I mean, even the most radical left-winger wouldn't do that.
Well, you should do it.
Yeah, of course you should. That's their policy. Not me. But I want to stand on the soapbox and pretend that I'm morally, I'm moral doing this thing.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, but I want to make sure you or somebody else actually does it.
Yep.
What a bunch of crap.
What a setup. It's a setup.
What a freaking bunch of crap these people are. Anyway, so that's it. That's what
Talk about Anthony on vacation.
No.
Notice Anthony's not. I'm in Anthony's chair, so
he's not here, but he'll be back. I hope he comes back. Is he going to come back? He's on vacation. Who knows?
He's in love.
All right. We're going to go. Thanks for watching the show on Rumble, YouTube, and all our podcast platforms. I'm Dan Wass, and I want you to know that the Second Amendment is not a privilege. It's your right.